Welcome to the Overwatch What's Next panel.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Oh. All right. Hello, BlizzCon. What's up? How's everyone doing? Wow. All right, everyone, check out opening ceremony. Saw all of the new stuff we're gonna be talking about today. Obviously, we have new hero, Moira.
Yeah.
We've got a new map, Blizzard World. That'll be fun to talk about. And maybe a couple surprises.
Ooh.
So I thought we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll start off, get right into it. I am Michael Chu. I am the lead writer on Overwatch.
He deserves it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Arnold Sang.
What was it?
I'm Arnold Sang, and I'm the assistant art director on Overwatch.
I'm Jeff Goodman, the lead hero designer on Overwatch. Still working on that.
I'm Aaron Keller. I'm the assistant game director.
All right, so let's get started. Obviously, in opening ceremonies today, you got to see a little short video of Moira in action. Maybe some of you have had a chance to check her out on the floor. But Jeff promised, he said we had a little video for you in case maybe you had some questions about her story, who this character, who Moira is. So let's check it out.
We stand on the brink of a breakthrough in human evolution. I have dedicated my life to unraveling its secrets. I take risks that others would consider to be unwise, for I do not share their caution. Overwatch held back the pace of scientific discovery for decades. They believed my methods were too radical, too controversial, and they tried to silence me. But there were others in the shadows, searching for ways to circumvent their rules. Freed from my shackles, the pace of our research hastened. Together, we delved deeper into those areas forbidden by law, by morality, and by fear. New patrons emerged who possessed an appetite for my discoveries. And with this knowledge, what new world could we build?
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I got some chills there. When I hear that voice, I start getting a little nervous. Probably because I've been victimized by her a little bit in playtests. So the question obviously is, who is Moira? Well, most importantly, Moira is that new support healer character that you've been waiting for. Now, just to get into her story a little bit, what I think is really interesting about Moira is she is a scientist, and obviously we have a lot of scientists in the cast already, and she is a little different because some of the other scientists are more interested in like creating inventions or I think I'm supposed to have some
conquering the world.
Yeah, sorry. Forward. Okay, so Moira is a scientist. She's not so much interested in conquering the world, even though she has she's allied herself with people who might have proclivities in that direction. She's really just into the actual science. She wants to understand the fundamentals of human life and how they can be manipulated. She is a geneticist, and that is her primary goal, and that's all she wants. But the thing is that the thing that makes her villainous is that she doesn't quite have like some of the morals that the rest of us are.
Very flexible.
She's very flexible. She doesn't want anything to get in the way of her science. So when someone tries to stop her from doing something or tells her that she needs to take more time, she has no patience for that. She wants to plow forward and find out these discoveries and make these new inventions to figure out how humans are hardwired. So the really interesting thing about her is that when we created Moira, we wanted her to have all these connections to characters throughout Overwatch history through different groups. So like we said before, she was recruited by Gabriel Reyes to be a member of Blackwatch. And during that time, she had relationships with the Blackwatch crew, McCree, Genji. They all have their own sort of likes and dislikes for each other. Reyes wanted someone who could help advise him on some matters of genetics that he was interested in, shall we say.
Suddenly.
And then
Very mysterious.
very mysterious, yes. Almost maybe a connection there. Yes, there's a connection there, obviously. And the other thing is that in the present day, Moira has allied herself with Talon now that Overwatch is gone. When you think about Moira's goals, figuring out these building blocks of human evolution and her need to like push forward science at any cost, it really meshes well with the goal of Talon. And so she has found new patrons like Doomfist. So that's sort of the story background of Moira, and I'm going to hand it over to Arnold now so he can talk a little bit about the development of her art.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. So it's always interesting to think back on the ideation of a hero. How do we start? We get that question a lot. And with Moira, it was a little bit of gameplay and a little bit of story. We heard your feedback. You guys wanted a new healer in the game. We felt the same way.
Totally.
Jeff felt the same way. So we really started there. And we have a lot of benevolent healers in the game. We have an angel, we have a monk, mother, and the most upbeat, like positive DJ that you've ever met. So we felt like it was time for something a little bit more morally ambiguous, a little bit more shady. So we started there, and we started with these concepts. And already right away, you can kind of see Moira there. There's that immediate kind of like androgynous face, that mysterious appeal that she had. So we really gravitated towards these concepts. We started with the one on the right, actually, with all the crazy tentacles. And everybody really liked that concept.
I thought it was cool, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to use these tentacles. That looks neat.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one thing for it to be a very unique and cool silhouette, but it's another thing to wrap like gameplay around that, right? You really want someone that has tentacles to have abilities that might reflect those, those visuals. So we tried something a little bit more conventional. We tried, okay, maybe we'll just give her something a little bit more toned down, maybe like a giant two-handed spray cannon. This is where we kind of started to layer in the science vibe to it. You can see some of those tubes starting to get in there. But it started to look a little, I don't know, maybe it might be confused with Zarya on the battlefield with that same silhouette. So we wanted to come up with something different. We took a step back, did a few thumbnails to really dive deep into what kind of weapons does Moira use, for healing, for damaging her opponent. And we tried a couple things. Ultimately, there's a couple things from these concepts that we really liked. And on the one on the far left, you'll see that that character already kind of has Moira's outfit there. We really like that silhouette and that dark vibe that really spoke to like a Talon character or someone from Blackwatch. We tried that same red-haired, long, kind of like gaunt face on the second from the left, from the right, and we still really like that that version of Moira. And then there was something on that far right concept that we really liked as well. And if you guys remember last year when we announced Sombra, we showed some of her early concept art. One of those was called the Omni Blade, who later became Hanzo and Genji. But she had these like big sleeves with like these throwing daggers. So this was my way of kind of getting
that in there.
Trying to get the throwing dagger back into the game. But we really like the big sleeves. And I don't know if you guys can see it from here, but she's got the purple syringes on one side, and she's got this yellow energy on the other side. So that kind of kick-started the idea of this duality between her left and right hand. So taking those elements, we kind of meshed them all together to come up with the final concept for Moira. We integrated all the elements from the concepts, the thumbnails that we just showed, and started to really kick up the more science apparatus vibe. Now we started coming up with the idea of what if she's got the healing and the damage, and what if the tubes actually had this liquid that would change color when she used those different abilities? So we tried to work that into the game. We even tried a couple of different hairstyles, but we ultimately we really like the red hair on her.
The tubes are actually a great touch because her gameplay is draining people of their energy and feeding it sort of as healing to your allies. And you can actually see when that happens, the tubes actually change colors, like it's actually directly converting the energy over to healing. It's an awesome touch.
And speaking of which, one of the things that really helped us flesh out that idea is because it's a first-person game, you're going to be seeing her hands a lot. This is one of the only heroes that shows both of her hands on the screen, like Zenyatta, like Doomfist. So her hands are everything. Those are her weapons. And we wanted to explore how she could express herself, deal damage, and heal. And the animators did a really great job at, like, you'll notice when you play her, when she's healing, it's this soothing motion where she's like, there, you're all right. But then when she's using her decay move, she's really just like grasping at you and clawing at you and trying to drain your energy. So this is a concept from our senior concept artist, Ben Zhang, and he really knocked it out of the park to get that duality in there. And there might even be a little bit of story behind why that hand is like that.
Yeah, how did her hand get messed up? Was it perhaps close proximity to another sort of genetic anomaly or experimentation? Hard to say.
Hard to say.
I actually do remember that, changing the subject, that when we were really dialing the animations for the hands, like we were really concerned with like how that felt. Like it's not that she's like out of control when she's using that power.
Right,
she's
right.
100% in command of it, and so she's really just like that's how she shows her mastery.
It's very aggressive, like just clawing and pulling. Really like the idea of this like leech hero.
Yeah.
She was, that life-sucking kind of vibe for her. Another thing we like to do on the concept side is figure out some movement studies, we like to call them. These are sketches we like to do for figuring out both abilities, the VFX, the poses for animation. These are some early sketches for her ultimate ability, Coalescence. One of the initial ideas, like she had all of her liquid kind of swirling around her.
Yeah, the original thing was, her original ult was all of her abilities would cool down a lot faster, have like no cooldown, and she would kind of be in hyper mode. And she also had this kind of beam attack that was kind of there also. And then we ended up kind of just like all ending on the beam attack because it was kind of the coolest part of the whole thing. So we kind of tweaked it as we went.
Yeah, so those are some of the concepts behind Moira, but it wouldn't really be a new hero announcement if we didn't show some awesome skins.
That's right.
So this is the first one for Moira. This one's called Oasis. She actually has a kind of a connection with Oasis, doesn't she?
Yeah, so currently, in addition to her duties as a scientist for Talon, Moira was also invited by the ministers of Oasis to become their minister of genetics. And so she's basically leading up their genetic research at the city. And this is, I guess, what she'd wear when she's over there.
Yeah. This one's also done by our concept artist, Ben Zhang, and he did the concept for the Oasis Symmetra as well. And we really love those visuals, and we couldn't wait to use it on another hero. And Moira seemed like the perfect fit. And the next one, my personal favorite.
So good. So good.
Yeah. This one we're calling Glam, and it's a tribute to glam rock from the 70s, where they wear these outrageous outfits, crazy makeup, super psychedelic colors, and the hairstyles were just out of control.
I love the lava lamp tubes. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. Instead of like the science liquor, she's got the lava lamp kind of effect on there. So this one's one of my favorites. But I'm sure you guys want to know more about her gameplay and how she works. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Jeff.
All right. So, thanks, guys. So, as we said, like we were hearing you guys' feedback, and we were definitely feeling the same thing. Like we just need more healers in the game. So we started sort of thinking, well, what have we done? What would be really cool? What would work with other heroes? What was just a cool, fresh idea? So she actually, on paper, originally really started as actually having a ton of health and trying to like leech health off of people, and then you should feed her own health to people. It ended up being sort of a balancing nightmare because it's like, what if I don't heal people and I just leech forever and you can't ever kill me? It's like, all right, that's a problem. So actually, the way she ends up kind of working is in the same vein. She's got sort of the same feel to it, but it doesn't quite have that same design to it. But I'll walk you through all the abilities so you can see how she kind of works together. So her weapon's called Biotic Grasp. There's a primary fire and a secondary fire to it. The primary fire we call Regeneration. It's this kind of just spray. It's kind of visually a little bit like Maze Blaster, but it actually pierces all your allies. So you can actually heal multiple allies at the same time in kind of a big cone in front of you. It actually has a ton of throughput. You can heal a lot with this thing. But the only reason it's not overpowered, hopefully, is there's a meter controlling it, and as you can see kind of in this video on the right side, as you're using it, it kind of drains slowly, and it kind of regenerates pretty slowly by itself over time. But if you actually are trying to heal more, which hopefully you are, you can't really wait for that, so then her second part of this comes into play, which is the alternate fire, which is called Decay. This is kind of her damaging hand, and this is where she's actually draining the enemies. It does actually still leech some health to her, so she's actually healing off of it. It's not a ton, but it's enough to sort of top yourself off and everything. That's great. But the biggest important thing is it fills up that meter really fast. So you're healing people, but you also need to take time whenever you can to try to leech energy off your enemies so you can feed it to your allies. It's very, she's a very evil way to heal. It's kind of very sinister. She doesn't care. It's worth it. Her first ability we call Fade. This ability is, she basically disappears completely. It's complete invisibility, kind of like Sombra, but it's instant. There's no delay or anything. And then she reappears. It's less than a second. It's super fast, but you also get an intense movement speed boost. So you can hit it and then like go around a corner really quick, and to the enemy, you're just completely gone. You don't even know where you went. You can see you don't even go like super far, but you know if a Winston's jumping on you, you can just go whoop, I'm back here now, and keep healing, keep doing damage. It's great. You notice it has some similarities to Reaper's Wraith form, which is funny how that works out.
We obviously there's a close relationship between Moira and Reyes/Reaper, and I think one of the fun things we were able to do is to sort of hint at some of those things in her ability.
It's like she's helping Reaper out and is like, I think I can make this better. I have an idea.
Professional relationship.
Yes. Good call. Second
you know what I'm talking about.
Second ability we call Biotic Orb. This also has two different modes, much like her primary and secondary fire, and it follows the same kind of pattern. So first thing you do when you hit those buttons, she pulls up those two orbs, and it represents the damage and the healing aspects. If you use the primary fire, you throw off the orb of regeneration, and that's sort of the yellow orb you see here. And these orbs can bounce around. They have like infinite bounces. They can bounce all over like a small area or off ceilings, stuff like that. And if they ever get near allies, it will slow down and start healing them automatically. It has only so much it can heal. It has like a contained amount of healing in it, and it shrinks over time as it feeds it to everybody. But it's a great way to AoE heal. It's also really good at like longer range because her range isn't super long generally on her cone heal. So you can throw it like at a Pharah's really far away and try to get the save on her while you get close, and be able to heal her with your primary fire. Or you could choose the alternate fire in this if you want to. They both share the same cooldown, so you have to pick which one you want. And the alternate fire is called Decay. It works basically exactly the same, it's just inverted. So you do damage to enemies. So it can also bounce around. This can be incredibly deadly in a small area where it's bouncing around a lot, and especially because you can move and act freely while it's happening. So you can throw the orb into an area, chase somebody down, and start by grasping them, taking their damaging that way, and they're just taking a ton of damage all of a sudden. Kind of have to get out of there during that. But yeah,
I like to throw it into rooms and make my team run in there.
Yeah. That's always the fun.
Get out of here.
Be like Genji, get. Okay.
Fetch.
Yeah, it's great. Now her ultimate ability is Coalescence. Now this is sort of the ultimate, like she's got this whole dichotomy thing going on. She's always got to choose if she's healing or doing damage. Her ultimate is just like, nope, I get to do everything all at the same time, and it's super long range, a really fat beam. She's kind of feeding both hands together and creating this beam that it heals allies that it's hitting and damages enemies that it's hitting. So you just want to hit everybody with it. In fact, in some maps we're playing, we get in this fights in these little corridors, and she's just like, I win. I don't care what's happening. Everything good is happening for me right now. Is
that the OPAF?
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll change the name for release.
Yeah, that's her last name. So there's also some other amazing properties to it. Since it pierces everything, it also includes barriers. So it pierces Reinhardt shields, Winston shields. So yeah, so it's hard to heal sometimes through those things, and you're just like, nope, I'm going to go through. And then Reinhardt's back there trying to protect his team. He's like, well, we can't really sit here anymore. I guess we have to move or something. And of course, if your team jumps in right afterwards, now they're getting healed by it also. So it's just this amazing sort of engage tool. Also, you can pick off those pesky Pharahs sometimes if you get them, if you wing them. So that's kind of a breakdown of how all the abilities work individually. We actually have a video to show you what it looks like when it's all put together.
We are bedeviled by the mysteries of creation. Science can reveal the truths that lie behind these many questions. What we learn can unlock the true potential of humanity. To the shadows. Tell me how this feels. Come to me and I will heal you. I will unmake you. Simple geometry.
Lights out.
Surrender to my will. Allow me to repair the damage. I feel unstoppable. My will made real.
Might have been something.
All right, so that was Moira, Overwatch's new support hero, and definitely go try her out now. Send us your feedback, even if it's just to tell us that yes, she is OPAF. But yeah, definitely let us know how you're liking her. But now to change tone, change subject a little bit, talk a little bit about the new map that we announced at opening ceremonies, Blizzard World. So. Hey, you can clap for it. It's exciting.
It's clap-worthy. It's very clap-worthy. This map is amazing.
So, I don't know if any of you were here at BlizzCon a couple years ago, but I remember it well because I think it might have been my first time up here on the main stage, and I was sitting next to our creative director, Chris Metzen, and someone asked a question. And Chris decided that he wanted to talk about kind of a fun idea that we'd had, which was the idea of a Blizzard amusement park. And he kept asking me, like, hey, should I just say something? And I was shaking my head like, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Too far, Chris. But he went ahead and did it anyways. And so that idea has been in the back of our minds, like, pretty actively, honest, to be fair, for the last couple of years. And finally, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to actually go ahead and make that? And so we've taken this idea, a name, Blizzard World, and now we've made it into an entire park. And yeah, so
yes.
So I'm the story guy, so I'm going to give you a little backstory on Blizzard World. Blizzard World is an amusement park. It is celebrating the worlds and universes of Blizzard Entertainment. It was built in Irvine, California. Obviously.
What else have they built?
And one important note from a story standpoint is that there is no Overwatch part of the park. So in the world of Overwatch, Blizzard Entertainment exists. It did not create the video game Overwatch or license a game from Overwatch. So there's no Overwatch in the park. This is celebrating the rest of Blizzard. But I'm going to hand it over now to, oh, actually, no, sorry. We're going to play that video again mainly just because we love it, and just
amazing.
Let you see a little bit more of the park again.
Where you took your first steps in Azeroth. Where you confronted the Lord of Terror himself. Where you spawned your first Zergling rush. Sometimes, epic memories can only be made in an epic world. Your adventure, your community, your memories. See them come alive in your world. Blizzard World.
Epic fun detected.
Well met. Stay a while and listen to the fireworks. Come and visit Blizzard World. New adventures are waiting for you.
I can't wait to get on some rides.
For the Horde!
Good throw in.
That would be great. I'm so excited to take you guys through Blizzard World. The whole team, all of Blizzard, is so excited about this map, and we thought that BlizzCon would be the ultimate place to show it to you guys. So Blizzard World is Overwatch's newest hybrid map. It is going to take players on an epic journey through the lands of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo. Like our other hybrid maps, the match starts as a fight over the first control point. The defenders start in the Heroes of the Storm arcade, while the attackers will spawn in the Hearthstone Tavern. From here, the attackers can choose to attack the first point through the gates of Stormwind, or they can bypass the choke entirely by going through Lost and Found Vikings. There's so many places to see and explore. There's flanking routes all throughout the first area, like the Fargo Deep Mine, Flight to Duskwood, or if you want, you can just stop off for a burger and some death wings at Snacksaramus.
What a great name, Snacksaramus.
It's a good name, right?
You should make something out of that.
The design of the first choke is more of a mini arena. There's multiple routes for both the attackers and the defenders to get here and also to access the high ground. As the attackers enter the area, they'll find an abundance of cover and several health packs in order for them to gain a foothold. And inevitably, the fighting sort of turns into this big rumble around the statue here. And ultimately, if the attackers are successful, the defenders kind of have to fall back towards the point further into the area. Now, when the attackers take the first point, they'll capture the payload and push it out of the Warcraft area and into the StarCraft area, past the siege tank, and around the pylon terrace. Now, this area is a really large circular arena. There's an abundance of high ground, and there's direct access to it for both the attackers and the defenders. The defenders can set up around the pylon above the cafe, and when they need to, they can drop off and directly contest the payload there. The attackers, if they want to, they can try to take the high ground and contest it against the defenders by taking a path up by the siege tank, or they can try to bypass it and sneak around through the Ghost Academy or through the Nexus Experience. There's also all sorts of flanking routes in here. There's a lot of interior opportunities either to attack the defenders or try to set up. Inside the Nexus Experience, there's a really great spot for Sombra to set up on the Mega Health Pack, and Symmetra can just create the meanest nest inside the pylon terrace. It's nasty. So once the attackers push the payload to the first checkpoint, they'll start pushing into the Diablo area, and their new spawn room will be the passenger loading area for the Reign of the Black King ride, while the defenders move all the way back into the park's command and control center. So here the attackers push the payload into Leoric's Manor and all the way to the throne of the Skeleton King himself. This area just exudes Diablo mood and flavor. All the lighting in here reminds you of Leoric's Manor. We have all sorts of props like the chandeliers and the shrines and the weapon racks that you can find in Diablo. You can break the barrels. Maybe you'll find some epic loot in here. Maybe there's some lost bit of lore to discover inside this area. Right here, this is actually a super cool Genji flanking route. You can run around the right. You just got to watch out for the drop. This map was a labor of love for everybody on the team. We're all huge Blizzard fans on the Overwatch team. And a lot of the people that we have on the team worked all across the company. We have people that worked on this map that worked on World of Warcraft and Diablo and StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, and they all came together to provide so many different ideas about the park itself, from all the crazy rides that you can see in the background and in the gameplay areas, to all just even the cool signs for some of these rides, like the spawning pool and Lost and Found Vikings. Who's that in the spawning pool right there? Che?
I don't know, but I think the water starts blue in the beginning of the day, and
We made special props for all the areas, from the inflatable doom hammer to the treasure chest to the leather-bound copy of the Green Hills of Stranglethorn, Jeff Kaplan's original masterpiece.
His magnum opus.
Yes,
Those death wings.
There's souvenirs in each of the area that you can get. There's different flavor props that you can find for all of these different areas. We've packed so much into it, and there's so much more than we're showing you here. There's so much more detail, there's so much more passion and ideas, and there's a ton of little Easter eggs, not just in the art, but in the audio as well. As you run around, you'll hear the voices of Deckard Cain and the adjutant from StarCraft. This is something that we have done for ourselves and fans, and for all of you as fans as well. So, so that's Blizzard World. You guys can play it on the show floor today. It'll be playable all throughout BlizzCon. It's going to be hitting the PTR soon, and it will go live sometime early next year. But this isn't all we have to talk about. It's not just heroes. It's not just the new map. There's one more thing we have in store for you, and to talk about it is Arnold Tseng.
So one of the things about Blizzard World is, for a character artist like myself, seeing everybody working on, awesome Blizzard stuff in Overwatch was super exciting. And the character artists we want to work on this stuff too. So it wouldn't be a tribute to Blizzard and all its universes without some Blizzard-themed skins. This is something we wanted to do since the beginning of Overwatch when we thought about doing skins. Who's ready to see some skins?
I am!
All right, let's roll the video.
Installing updates. Updates installed.
Will you take a look at that?
Well, you must really like me.
What did you expect? You're impressed. That's natural.
That's more like it. I was born in battle.
Live with honor.
Die with glory. The Crusaders are immortal defenders of Germany.
We're on our way. Ooh, this is a good one.
Man, so these are probably like my favorite skins that we've done so far. There's so many, just like Aaron was talking about with Easter eggs in the Blizzard World map. We got a lot of tiny tidbits we love just putting into these skins as well. Like if you notice in the video, Zarya's graviton core is actually the rage meter for barbarians, and she's even got a little ruby slotted into her weapon for all you D3 fans out there. I think Roadhog, for his take a breather, he's got like a potion from Diablo. And you guys also notice like some non-Blizzard World skins. We have Crusader Reinhardt. Anybody see that Reinhardt cinematic this morning? It's so awesome, and we heard you guys' feedback. We definitely want to have you guys celebrate these awesome animated shorts with us. So we have Reinhardt the Crusader and also Eco Point May.
And it turns out Reinhardt's hair was amazing.
Well,
it was amazing. It was amazing. So you guys are probably wondering, how are we going to get these awesome skins? Well, we heard your feedback about wanting more items in the base loot box, and I'm super happy to announce that as early next year, all the skins we showed and more are going to be available in the base loot box of Overwatch. So they're not going to be part of any event. As soon as they're in the loot box, you'll be able to earn them year-round. We'll have more info early next year, but for now, I got to start saving up some credits.
That's right.
All of us.
That's all we have for today.
Yeah, so just to recap all the fun stuff we talked about, there's obviously our new hero, Moira. She'll be coming very soon. Check her out on the show floor. We've got Blizzard World, which will be, again, playable on the show floor and will be coming early next year. And then also lots of new content for the base loot box. So we have a little bit of time left, so we thought maybe we'd try answering a few questions. So there's 2 microphones, I believe. So
somewhere.
What?
Reflections Hanzo skin. I don't remember what that was.
I think I heard Reflections Hanzo skin.
Reflections Hanzo skin.
That one is requested a lot.
Yeah, I wonder.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All right, I think, okay, let's, it's hard to see the microphone, but I hear there's one over there, so let's take a question from over there. No, not over there. Okay.
They're lining up.
Over on that side. Oh my God, that costume is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have a question for us?
Yeah. Yes? So you guys are going to make Blizzard World real, right? And like
easy as that.
2018.
Right, so
June.
Here's the thing, right? It's in the future, so
right.
Still have a little bit of time to wait, I'd say.
If we started a Kickstarter for like $8 billion, you guys donate?
I'm pretty sure you guys would get every single dollar you ask for and more. Just go for it.
Well, I mean, I would love to go, so you won't get any argument from me.
Right.
All right, question.
First of all, love Blizzard World, but nothing would warm my heart more than defending on that map and manning that siege tank, even if it's just for 5 or 6 shots
right.
while defending.
That's a pretty awesome idea. Maybe there's a game mode there or something like that. I don't know.
We actually, yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about the arcade now is we get to try crazy stuff in there. And so, I mean, we try not to throw in map mechanics that are like in the main pool that's going to suddenly feel like it's like disrupting everything. But it's cool, definitely an idea. And I think maybe a place for that, something we could try maybe someday in like the arcade or something like that would be super cool.
All right, well, thanks.
Hey, what's your question?
Hey guys. First off, thank you for the support. We really need that.
Yeah.
And so my question is more of a lore question. So seeing Moira and her healing and her, siphoning of powers, I'm wondering if there's a connection between her powers and Zen's approach of how he heals and discords, or if it's going to be communicated in the future.
So there is a connection, but it's actually not to Zenyatta. It's actually more of a connection to Mercy. They both work together. Obviously, Moira was a part of Blackwatch. Mercy was a part of Overwatch. But she's definitely taken and modified some of that tech. In fact, there's some evidence on the Oasis map that sort of hints at some of that. So, wow, I made that easy. I just threw it out there. It's out there. Anyways, yeah. So not Zenyatta so much. That's a little different. And in fact, Moira herself is very curious about how all that works.
Huh. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next question.
Hi. So I know that recently you updated Junkrat's grenades so they don't do damage to himself anymore. I was wondering if you had any plans to do something similar with Pharah or her ult.
Maybe. I think it's not necessarily like a larger gameplay change across the board that we want to affect everybody. I think it was actually Junkrat himself was sort of in a state where like some of his stuff already worked that way. Like his concussive bomb already didn't hurt him. So we got into a place with him where it was like he was stuck at a very specific range where he like wasn't super good at long range, and when he got too close, he was killing himself. So from like a pure gameplay standpoint, we kind of had to like either let him shoot really far, which was really weird with a grenade launcher, or just kind of like make him not hurt himself as part of his general kit. But in general, the plan is still to make the explosive weapons hurt yourself when you use them.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question over here.
Hi. It's one of like a smart-ass question or whatever. I tend to think I'm like pretty clever. I mean, I'm not like. I'm watching like the Reinhardt cinematic or whatever, and like I noticed they recently had some additions like the sword and the double guns. It's like, is next year's lore event going to be an Eichenwald for a PvE event?
What was the question?
Sorry, what was your question?
Is next year's lore event PvE going to be an Eichenwald?
Well, we'll talk about.
Next year's
we're not
lore
really
event.
don't have anything to say about future events, but we certainly really love that map, and I think they really the cinematics department really went above and beyond in creating that cinematic. I know I was a little moist in the eye.
Technically,
earlier.
Halloween Terror is on Eichenwald, kind of.
What's that?
Technically, Halloween Terror is on Eichenwald.
Oh yeah, section of it. That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey.
Hi, I'm a big fan. Okay, so I play a lot of Symmetra, and I realize that Symmetra's not really picked in like pro games. Is there any plans to like change Symmetra just a little bit, or make her, maybe have healing abilities? Because she's the only support that doesn't heal. Just want to point that out.
I don't know how likely it is that she'll end up with healing abilities. I think I've heard definitely a lot of people comment that they feel like she should be in the defensive category because she doesn't heal, even though the support category is technically kind of like not necessarily healers, although at this point it kind of is. We've actually been talking a little bit about looking at the categories again and see if they make sense. But I hear what you're saying, but Symmetra in general, she does get some play, but yeah, she doesn't get picked too much at the high end like that. She pretty recently had that kind of remake where she got the extra ultimate, so allowed her to be a lot more flexible on a lot more points, so that helped out. And yeah, we're always looking at other heroes too in the future, and I mean, obviously, as we've shown recently with Mercy, we're willing to go back and tweak things quite heavily if we feel like it could go in a better direction. So we'll have to see.
Hey, you got a question for us?
Yeah, so I know Tracer was kind of inspired by like the Jumper class from Titan and all that, and there was a couple other classes heroes in Overwatch that are inspired by scrap classes from Titan. And I was wondering if Moira was one of them, and what other types of abilities or class play styles from Titan would you like to incorporate into future heroes of Overwatch?
You're at the early.
Clearly the Omniblade, right?
Omniblade.
The idea that will never die.
I could say a few things about I've said this before. Like we have a great tools team, and we have a great tool to use, and I ended up just playing with a lot of different mechanics, and some of them were stuff we tried at Titan, some of them weren't. Moira was definitely like completely scratched. There wasn't really anything there from Titan. A lot of them are like that. But there were a couple of abilities that were kind of cool. Like I remember Tracer had this gun back then, because we had alternate guns back then too. She had a gun where you could kind of load somebody up with shots, but they wouldn't explode. They would stick into you, and then you could hit another button at some point later, and she would have like this animation delay where she'd blow them all up. Nice. So you'd like shoot somebody a bunch of times, and then recall around a corner, and then just like dink, and just like blow them up. It was pretty fun. So there's definitely like one-off guns that are kind of interesting we may look at in the future. But
and to add on to that, if you're interested in this, go to the Overwatch panel tomorrow morning, because there's a lot of information along kind of along the veins of what you're talking about and what sort of things from Titan influence things in Overwatch as well.
Awesome. Thank you,
so
guys.
check it out. Yeah.
Sure.
One more?
Sure.
Or no?
You got another question?
I think we have time for one more.
Don't know where I'm looking.
Just one more?
Or no?
Yeah. So over the past year, it seems that as more heroes get introduced, there's been a bit of mobility creep in the game, and which means that some other heroes, especially in the competitive ladder like Zenyatta, McCree, don't have as many options in when to choose to engage. How are you guys dealing with that going forward as you design new heroes and revise old heroes?
I mean, I think it's definitely a concern. Whenever we're designing a hero, that actual literal topic comes up basically every time. Because, I mean, a lot of what makes Overwatch so awesome is the mobility, and all, the way the heroes move is a big part, and how they all have different ways to do it. And the fact that some heroes don't have mobility is actually interesting too, because they have, their other aspects that are very strong. So, I mean, it's something we definitely watch out for. And obviously, a character like Orisa was pretty new. We want to make sure, okay, we're not doing anything mobility-wise on her. She's kind of the static one that moves forward or marches forward and it's hard to stop, but she doesn't like blink forward or dash forward or anything. So I think it's a challenge for us all the time. We just got to make sure that we have awesome ideas that don't involve mobility all the time.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's all the time we have for questions, but I just want to thank everyone again for coming out. We love the Overwatch community. We couldn't do this without you, so
thanks,
thank
guys.
you again, and
thank you.
Be out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
We have time for a few more questions.
Oh. All right.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Well then.
I mean, should we?
I got nothing to do.
Yeah. All right. Let's get some more questions then. Forget everything I just said, but we do love you. Yep.
Hey, I actually ran all the way back here because I was first in line. But my question is, earlier this year, you guys announced that Tracer was LGBT identified. I was wondering if we can expect more of that from other heroes, because like as an LGBT identified man myself, it's like representation is super key in a game for me.
Yeah, so I completely agree. Representation is important to us as a team too. In making Overwatch, making sure that it is a diverse and representative game is something that we're always thinking about. Obviously, you know, we showed off Tracer in the Reflections comic, where it was revealed that she's in a loving relationship with her girlfriend Emily, and we are definitely interested in showing more of the character relationships. It's really a matter of finding the right stories, because we don't want to just come out and just sort of label people. We want them to come out naturally as part of the narrative. But I've said it before, but definitely more members of the Overwatch cast than the heroes are LGBT.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, back over this side.
Hi there. Currently in Quick Play, there's a distinct separation between players that want to play with like 60 PS, no plans of winning, and then another group of players who maybe want to play with people they're associated with who are too differing in rank. Do you have any plans to alleviate something like that?
This is in Quick Play specifically, you said?
Yeah, because when you're in Quick Play and you find a team that's not doing so well, they'll tell you to go to arcade. Yet you still want that competitive, like a competitive light aspect.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's something we're always looking at. The tricky thing for us is we can definitely layer in more restrictive matchmaking in general, but every time we add another layer, we're increasing the queue times for everybody, and that's like the biggest thing we're always fighting against, is we want to make sure that if you want to play Overwatch, you can jump on the game and play it in a reasonable time. So when we first launched the game, we were very much in the camp of we just want the queues to be as short as possible. It's definitely like really lighten up on the matchmaking restrictions. And obviously over time we've been hearing feedback from you guys, and we have been layering in more stuff to try to help the matchmaking quite a bit. So it's something we're always looking at still, but that's kind of the balancing aspect. That's kind of where we're at.
One of the other things we're talking about with that is whether we might want to make changes or addition to the arcade side. And so there might be a way of pulling a segment of the population away from Quick Play and putting them into that, or at least making it easier to find the type of game that you want to have without always having to resort to either creating one on your own and hoping players join it, or looking for one that has enough players in it inside a custom game.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, next question. 8.
Hello there. First of all, thank you very much. The Blizzard World map looks really incredible. And my question actually is on level design. I'm just curious if there has, I was just wondering if there was going to be any interest in using at least old assets, or just reusing different locations, but for different game modes. Like, would there ever be like a Route 66 map, but King of the Hill, or just kind of like reusing, if that makes sense, just using different old assets, just do new mechanics?
Let me take it. It's a great idea. We've done it before. So we took Dorado and turned it into the arena version of the map. We've done it a few times. Even our latest map, Chateau, borrowed art elements from some of our other maps. So we do that. I think it would be super cool to have a Blizzard World version of an arena, or even an FFA map. I think something like that would be super cool. But as we build maps, we kind of get to it and decide what we think is going to be the coolest art set that we could use for it. And we kind of usually take a wait and see attitude to it. But I have a feeling in the future we'll probably do a few more of those.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, question over on this side.
Okay, so this is my second year at BlizzCon. Love playing Overwatch. I kind of consider myself more of like a competitive player. So like I like to play competitive and really rank up and see if I can hit that high ladder. Right now I'm playing in like Masters-ish. And
Nice.
my question for you, as someone who's played other games that have a really structured competitive system, would you consider adding a more like redefined scorecard into competitive only, just so you could better see what's going on your team, the other team, and like maybe if you could look and see for some more self-improvement like on how you played?
Sure. Do you mean the scorecard, like the end of the match scorecard? Do you mean
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about quite a bit, actually, especially in the competitive play. You know, there are other third-party sort of applications and websites and stuff that are doing a lot of interesting things, tracking stats for people and stuff. And I think we think those are super interesting. We kind of follow those too, and they're doing a lot of really cool stuff. We don't really have anything to announce or anything right now, but I think that's definitely something we're interested in.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. And I play in Masters too, like Masters-ish to gold. Masters-ish.
All right, next question over here.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Hi. Thanks for having me. And I've been really trying to think how to say this question. First of all, love the game. Go Overwatch.
Thank you.
But when I see the game, I see so much lore potential, but there's not a lot of lore for us to really enjoy. We only get like Junkerstein's Revenge, not even lore, and the Omnic Crisis, single-player campaign. So, real question: more lore, single-player content, kind of two. Sorry.
Yeah, so I totally hear what you're saying. We have a number of things that are in development right now on the story side that hopefully will get into some more of the hero stories and just show off more of the universe. So it's something that we're continuously working on and something that we're hoping that we can ramp up and have more frequent and more in-depth bits of story. So yeah, definitely stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, over here.
Hi, big fan of everything you guys do. So Overwatch is a team-based game, obviously. So you win or lose a match based on how well you work with those other 5 people that you're queued up with at random, mostly. So my question is, why is there such a lack of a social aspect to Overwatch? I mean, general chat is just spam or memes, and there's no real way to meet people outside of a third party like Discords or Reddit or whatever. So are there any plans in the future to maybe add some kind of a general lobby you can join while queuing or anything to really put you together with other players?
So we talk about things like this internally, and there's a lot of different ways you could kind of design something like this, and especially for the competitive scene, we've internally had discussions about, do we need some sort of looking for group system or something like that. And there's a lot of challenges with designing a system like that, but we know that there's a desire in the community to start either looking for players based off of the role they're going to play, or sometimes there's frustration about the type of group that you get put into through matchmaking. And it's the type of thing that we're talking about. We really don't have any details to discuss on it, but and I'm not sure if we'd ever build a lobby experience that you're going to go into, actually load into as a player or anything like that. But it's something that we're talking about internally.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, question over on this side.
All right, so being an avid WoW player for years, the instant connection between you announcing the Magni Bronzebeard skin and also the new character Moira and Moira the Dark Iron Dwarves, do you think there's going to be or already has some sort of voice line interaction reference, going on that might reference, the Moira of the Dark Iron Dwarves?
That's an interesting idea.
I hadn't even thought of that, actually.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's
interesting.
Yeah, maybe we could do something like that. I think it's one thing that's really fun about Moira is that she sort of has that warlocky mage feeling about her. I think we definitely went in that direction with her because there's a little bit of that fantastical inspiration for her.
Yeah, for both her and I would say Symmetra, we definitely tried to kind of merge that wizard kind of mage vibe and bring that into Overwatch.
Just need Roadhog to get that Voidwalker skin, and she could get the Warlock skin, and they can cruise around together.
All right, thank you. Next
Hello.
question. Hey.
I just had a question when it came to like character design. When you put an androgynous character like Moira into the game, what's going through your head when it comes to adding diversity to the roster, like when it comes to body type like Mei or Zarya, or when it comes to gender like Moira? Like, what are you guys thinking when you add someone like that to the roster?
Well, the first thing, obviously, that is Overwatch is about diversity, and we want to have a lot of variety of heroes. And we look at all the types that we've explored so far, and we definitely want to constantly be reaching out and trying to represent all of our different players. So one thing is just like, what's something new and something exciting that would reach more players out there that would represent you guys as much as possible. So that's definitely on our minds. And definitely we just want to make all different types of heroes that look cool and feel awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this is our last question.
Okay, this is the last question.
For realsy.
Hi, my question is about Talon, actually. We've seen a lot of different Talon stories. We've seen Doomfist Masquerade, which was a James Bond sort of story. Alive is about an assassin. Now we have Moira, who's completely different, and I'm wondering about the challenge of writing this very broad faction or creating these very unique characters all under the same banner, and how you sort of align them while still making them have their unique niches.
Well, I think one of the really interesting things about Talon is that it was really intended to be this larger group of, I was going to say heroes, but of people with different aims. And the idea is that all these different people with the different ideas of what they want have sort of been brought together in the current modern day. Doomfist is clearly the one who's sort of imposing the idea, like Talon has this ideal, right? Let's make mankind stronger through conflict. And Doomfist is sort of righting the ship, and he's gathering people around him who he trusts, people he believes in. And so I really think that the fun part of Talon is just like when you look at Overwatch, and it's like, Overwatch is soldiers, scientists, adventurers, and oddities, and I don't think that Talon can't also have that kind of real diverse feeling in the different characters who are part of it. So it's a challenge, but I think it's fun because you can already sort of see how these characters play together and their relationships, and I think adding a character like Moira into the group with snarky Sombra and and Widowmaker and everything will be fun, and so we can't wait to tell some more stories about that group and see where they're going.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that is actually the last question. So again, thank you all for coming. We love the Overwatch community. We couldn't do this without you.
Thank you,
Please
guys.
go play Overwatch, try out the new things, and let us know what you think.
Thanks, everybody.